Alright, welcome back to my playlist on volume and surface area of three-dimensional figures. This video, we're going to look at finding volume and surface area of cylinders, which I like to also refer to as circular prisms. Circular prisms. Alright, both bases are circular and they're separated by a height of some kind. So that's another way of thinking about cylinders. Okay, to calculate the volume of a cylinder, we're going to need the area of the base times the height of the overall cylinder. Okay, since we're dealing with a circular base, that area of the base, or B in the volume formula, is going to be the area of a circle. So the formula to find area of a circle is going to be pi times the radius squared, and then we're going to multiply that by the height. So volume here is going to equal the area of the base times the height of the cylinder. Rewriting a little bit, we get B is rewritten as pi times r squared, and all of that is multiplied by the height. All right, looking at our shape, we definitely need to define what r is and what h is. R is going to be this red line in the middle of the circle. This 9 is going to represent the radius. And the height is going to be this 8 inches. It's the distance between the two identical circles that we have. Okay. So substituting in our values, we get pi times 9 squared times 8. So we're going to get pi times 81 times 8, which is going to be the same thing as pi times 648, doing that multiplication. And then I'm going to go ahead and use 3.14 for pi to get an estimated value of 2,034.72 inches cubed for the volume. Okay, so I am rounding a little bit with estimating using 3.14. If you have a more advanced calculator, you can always use the pi symbol if you want a more exact solution. Okay, now we're going to look at finding the surface area. And since we're dealing with a circular shape, we're going to need 2 of the areas of the bases, 2b, and then we're going to add that to the circumference of the base, right, which is kind of like the perimeter, but we call it a circumference of circles, and we're going to multiply that by the height. Again, for this one, for surface area, we're really only going to need to define what R is and what the capital H is. So let's get this written out. 2 times the area of the base plus the circumference of the base times the height. Okay, 8 represents the diameter of this because the red line goes all the way through. And since we need the radius, if I know the diameter, then I know that the radius has to equal half that, which would be 4 meters. And then the height of the cylinder is going to be the 12 meters coming up to, through to the top where the other circle is. Okay, going back to our formula, we want to start rewriting. We get 2 times the area of the base, which is going to be pi r squared, just like in the other problem, plus the circumference of the circle. That's going to be 2 pi r times the height of the overall cylinder. So once we took out the b and the c and we replaced it with our area and circumference formulas for the circle, notice here that in our equation, all we have now is r and h, which values we know. So we're going to replace those. We get 2 times pi times 4 squared plus 2 pi times 4 times 12. Okay, I know it looks messy with all these parentheses, but as we simplify, things will clear up. Okay, so looking at this, I can see right away I'm going to do 4 squared, that's 16. So I end up with 2 times 16 times pi. And then over here on the other side, I get 2 times 4 times 12. So let's do 2 times 4 first. That's 8 times 12 times pi. Okay, 2 times 16 is 32 pi. And then 12 times 8 is 96 times pi. All right, since both of these have pi in common, we can kind of think of these as like terms. So we can add these together. 32 plus 96 is going to be 128 times pi. And since I'm using 3.14 for pi, I wanted to wait to do any calculating with pi until I had it as simplified as possible. So in the calculator, I'm going to do 128 times 3.14, which will give me 401.92 meters squared, because we are dealing with surface area. Okay, so if I was to take wrapping paper and wrap this cylinder, it would take 401.92 square meters of wrapping paper to accomplish that. Okay, that's the video on cylinders. Stay tuned for the next one.